Excuse my appearance, I'm out here running. However, here's too good of an opportunity to explain how retaining ponds, private retaining ponds, right? In reference here, someone's polo fields, right? So you have 50 acres of polo fields, you do a lot of fertilization, a lot of pesticides, a lot of different stuff to keep the grass nice and green, right? So this retainment pond way up there in the corner, it's connected to this public canal, something created by the Army Corps of Engineers. So all of us technically own these canals. The Army Corps of Engineers built it. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection and South Florida Water Management District, they oversee these waterways. But it's all of our waterways, right? So you can see here all these aquatic plants. These weren't here just 2-3 days ago. Now I don't know how hot these waters got. However, I know today it hit over 100. This is in the direct sun. So my hypothesis, and y'all tell me if you think I'm wrong, is that from the rains we had 2 nights ago, their retaining pond filled up. So what they do is, since their retaining pond is higher than the canal, you'll see a big culvert, and we'll go up there. They open this culvert up and they allow the water to pass into the canal. And the excess water flows out so their fields don't flood up, right? So you'll notice in their retaining pond, it is full of duckweed and all these different plants, right? Just like in here. So I've noticed a trend. Every time there's a large rain and they empty their retaining pond, suddenly all these aquatic plants pop up. There's a bloom. And what you'll see is dead fish floating. And you'll see that they cover the surface. Duckweed and all these aquatic plants. Especially down there in the first video, right? So that's all the way from there to there. All that water is traveling right there, all the way down here. And the reason the duck plants, the duckweed, is growing down there is because there's another culvert that exits there and goes to the other canal. So they only open that up when this canal starts to fill up to a certain level, right? It gets up to a certain level and the water overflows. Well, the canal didn't get to that level for the water to pour out, but what it did is it naturally flowed down this way. So there's this huge bloom over by where the canal water flows out. So the story I'm trying to piece together for you is these polo fields, right? Multi millions of dollars, a couple $100 million probably this property is worth. They're just dumping all of their pesticides and different stuff for their grass all over these fields. Well, they're flowing into their private retaining pond. That has a huge algal and aquatic plant boom. That then flows into our public waterways. And what does it do? It kills all the fish. Why? Because when you have heat, really hot temperatures, right, in the summer, you have nitrogen and phosphorus, and you have water that's already kind of dark, you have aquatic plant blooms because they're eating up all those nutrients, right? Those excess nutrients. But when they grow and when they cover the surface, there's not enough oxygen. What happens when there's not enough oxygen? The fish don't live. Fish can't live. Fish die. And so do other aquatic creatures, right? There's one right there. Dead. I've seen turtles many a times out here even because the water gets so toxic, right? So concentrated. This canal gets hot, full of nutrients, and who knows what they put on those fields, right? To keep it that perfect flat green. All that flows in here, water evaporates off, water goes 98 degrees. You have chemicals, bacteria, nitrogen, phosphorus in 98 degree canal water. I wonder why the fish and turtles don't survive. In addition, for whatever reason, I don't know if this is the city of Wellington or if this is the Army Corps of Engineers, which I doubt it is, it's probably the South Florida Water Management District combined with the local municipalities, because I know some canals are not ever, if at all, trimmed, right? They're not cut back all the grass and debris that starts to grow. These are a few times a year. And what happens is, number one, you start to knock all these different plants and grass that hold the sidewalls, against the easements and prevent them from falling in. But also, now there are a lot of good aerobic bacteria, right? Aerobic bacteria are what keeps these ponds and these waterways and these lakes healthy, right? There's a little duck. Duck feeds on the fish. There's aerobic bacteria and some anaerobic. And when there's too much anaerobic bacteria and too many settled sediments and too much nitrogen and phosphorus, our friends like Mr. Duck over here start to get really stressed because they don't have food. Brings tears to my eyes. It's so sad, all because why? They want perfectly green polo fields. Okay, now let's make an observation. Do you see any water, right? This is a retaining pond, probably 5-10 feet deep in some areas. Do you see any water? I wonder why. All those elephant plants, those aquatic plants are covering the water. Do you think it's maybe the polo fields over there, or there, or there, all around, right? That are being sprayed with chemicals. They're being sprayed with pesticides, sprayed with fertilizers, and where do they run off to? Right here in the retaining pond. And so you have this culvert, right, with all this water and all this aquatic plants. This culvert, there's a certain level, right? The water hits a certain level and flows over these barriers and over here, right into the canal. And like I said before, this whole thing is connected to even more easement over there, so it flows all the way down. That's when it gets pushed that way. You have aquatic plants lining everywhere, lining all along these riverbanks. Excuse me, I said riverbank, but I meant canal. Now, if I could explain the stench that comes up from this, you can see the aquatic plants growing in there. That's how many there are. And that just shows how much more nutrients there are even on this side than on that side. Because again, those aquatic plants grow because of excess nutrients. It smells like straight horse manure combined with the inside of an industrial warehouse. So you can imagine, if the stench is that bad of pesticides and fertilizers, how these fish must feel, right? How these creatures must feel. Now, none of these people that own these properties care. Because, right, this looks pretty to them. And they're never standing over here smelling this. And they don't care about this canal. However, this is why the Department of Environmental Protection needs to step up. This is why us as humans need to educate ourselves. This is why we need more people going into environmental protection.